Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Fieldhouse. I'm Blake Monroe, where I'm joined weekly by Jerry Hamilton, Coach Bob Shipley, Coach Tim Buchanan, and Carl Padilla of the Padilla Poll. And we're going to start off like we do every week. Carl, what interesting factoids do you have for us, sir?
Well, hey, some great news. Spring, Katie Harmony, and Valley View all scored last week. And of the three, Spring actually won 19-18. So now every school that's playing high school football, 11-man in the state, has scored. So a different kind of streak going on. Florence got shut out the first game. The last 6 games, they've actually scored 7 points in each game. So we'll find out Friday if they can keep that streak going or maybe actually score more than 7 points. Last week, there was 78 shutouts of all the games played in 11-man football. So that's about 15.5% of the games that we're playing. In 11-5A D1, the closest game was 48 points. The average score was 67 to 8.5. And then their bi-district opponents, 12-5A D1, their closest game of the 4 was 41 points. And their average score was 54.75 to 5.75. Some good games last week. Carter beat Kimball in overtime 50 to 43. Estacado and Perryton had a defensive struggle 58 to 51.
Yeah.
Jerry almost jinxed Carthage. They wound up winning 61 to 56 over Athens. Cuero, which had scored 56 and lost the week before to Rockport Fulton, scored 56 again and beat Sinton, who scored 55 this week. So that's one heck of a district. Dangerfield beat Hook 76 to 59. And something we don't talk about a whole lot, but we will this time. Parish Episcopal 56, Argyle Liberty Christian, where Jason Wooden coaches, 28. And they're 2 of the 3 top contenders for the TAPS D1 championship. And then I know you guys are going to talk about this later. West Texas 50, Panhandle 49, and they're both top contenders for the 2AD1 state championship. So
Man, I don't want to have to text Surratt this, so maybe you have the answer. Is that the most points Carthage has given up?
In his era, I would believe so.
No, you know what? Right.
Possibly La Vega when they beat him that one year. What was it, 12 or 15?
Yeah.
Carthage gave up a barrel of points in the semifinals that year.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So, but I would think that's the most regular season points he's ever given up.
Yeah.
So we had 21 teams score in the 70s last week. We had 78 teams win by 50. We had 85 one-score games and only 9 with 100-plus points. So maybe we're getting a little bit tighter on some of these things, but you talk about crazy. 5A Division I Region 3 and 4 had 8 shutouts in it last week. So that's a heck of a lot of good defense there, Buck kind of defense. And 3A Division II had 7 teams score in the 70s out of the 21. So that's pretty crazy. So that's the report, Blake.
Hey, by the way, on Athens, that's quite an offensive run they've been on. When you consider, I mean, look, Jacksonville's not very good, but 61-14. Waco Connolly 61-34. Brownsboro 52-8. Then they lose to Carthage 61-56. They're on quite the offensive run because they lost to Kaufman 14-13 September 5th. So I'm not sure. Now, they beat Henderson too 56-49. So maybe everybody was suspended for the Kaufman game. But they've offensively, if you take away that Kaufman game, Athens is averaging 57.5, 58 a game this year. So quite the run of offense Athens is on.
Hey, maybe playing in Kaufman's like going to Kentucky.
Yeah, maybe.
And I wanted to add a note on that Cuero game. They were actually down by 3 touchdowns with 4.5 minutes left in that game, and then came back and beat Sinton. So that's a heck of a comeback.
Yeah, there's been too many games this year where a team's been down by 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and come back to win. So you wonder where the defense is on those games. But I think we all know there's a lot of onside kicks happening. So
yeah.
All right, Jerry. Well, a topic that I know you wanted to talk about, and I'm very interested to hear the answers today, is what truly makes a great team.
And Carl, this is for you too, what you see. Okay, this is not just for the guys with rings and the guys that have coached and been really good players, but we're getting close to playoff time. We look at rankings and who's ranked where, and ultimately one team's going to win a state championship in each division. That doesn't mean there's only one great team. So my question for you guys, Coach Buck, we'll start with you, is outside of talent, when people are watching this sport, what really, in your eyes, makes a great team? Because there's so many things that go into it.
The number one thing is, you can have great athletes and still not have a good team. I know back when I was coaching, we had beat some teams that had 5 Division I football players on the other side, and we're sitting there with maybe 1 or 2. I really believe that it has to do with 3 big things. One, teaching your kids to play as a team. That's number one. It's not I think Sark actually said this in one of his press conferences, maybe at the coaches convention this summer, but he said football is a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport, and if you can have all the individuals you want, but until you teach them to play as a team and they accept it and they play as a team and quit being selfish, then you're never going to win win big until you get over that hump. So I've got to say, making sure that they understand that they can't be selfish in football. I mean, you just can't do it. And the other thing is putting the right guys in the right spots at the right time, and that comes down to coaching.
Coach Shipley, what about you? What are your thoughts on that? On what makes a team great?
Well, I have some ideas, but you can take what Coach Buck said to the bank because nobody's done it better than him. Sure, he's had talent, but I've played against some talented teams that there's no way they should be losing the games that they're missing something. A lot of the things that Buck said. But as you're talking about going into the playoffs, one thing that is obvious is that you've got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
You've got to stay healthy. I remember when we were in Burnett and we were playing 2002. Bandera was in our district. We beat them 49-14, something like that. I can't remember. And anyway, we won district, and they hit it just right every week with their opponents. It seemed like the star of the team they were playing in the playoffs, something happened to them the week before. I think maybe even the state championship game against
Midland Greenwood.
Midland Greenwood, maybe the guy broke his leg or ACL in pregame warm-up, their stud running back, something like that. It seemed like happened. Anyway, you look up, and at the end of the season, Burnett is playing in Division I state championship, and Bandera is playing in Division II championship, and they won it. So hitting it right, staying healthy. Unfortunately, the other team's health, as Bandera found out, plays a big role in that too. But I think, the teams that I've had that really turned it on, not just in the playoffs, but all year, were just resilient, tough kids, tough-minded kids.
Yeah.
And you don't see that as often as you used to. My first job at Rotan, those kids couldn't wait for 2 days to start because they'd been out hoeing cotton all summer back. I mean, they literally hoed cotton out there all summer long. Coach, when can we start 2 days? And Coach, can we have another practice? Because my dad's going to send me back in the field if I go home too early. Those just tough, resilient kids. And the team culture is obviously incredibly important. Players that love each other, players that have each other's back, players that correct each other and hold each other accountable. And also those same kids, my experience has been, you can't get them out of the field house.
Yeah.
You can't run them out of the field house. And you drive up there in the summertime and you look out there and there's a group of how many out there playing? They just love it, and they love being with each other. That's been my experience. When you don't have any of those things going for you, you're probably not going to make much of a run. I don't care how talented your kids are.
Hey, Buck, I wanted to ask you a follow-up, and it can be either one of you guys answer this, but what's always been unique to me about Texas, and Carl, you may have some thoughts on this too, and how it can positively or sometimes negatively affect you and your team that you coach, is your booster clubs and your communities and your involvement in Texas high school football is totally different than anything I've ever seen. Like, I've been to almost every state. Georgia's done a pretty good job copying it to a certain extent, the best they can, but Texas is really different in that regard. When the Alito, the town was growing, the program was growing, how was that always positive? Did it keep it, when y'all had success, was it tougher for you to keep the kids' mind on football and on the right things about what it takes to win when you started winning? Because to me, it's harder to stay on top than it is to climb to the top in a weird way, especially when you have so much positive community involvement, but that's also can bring some negative at the same time.
Well, I think, the booster clubs and the community are a big part of your success, because, the kids go home every night, and if mama or daddy or whoever it might be is bad mouthing the coaches and not liking what's going on, then that flows back into the kid and then flows into your locker room. Exactly what Bob was talking about.
Yeah.
But, when I first got the Alito job, I spent more time coaching parents, I think, than I did kids, because the parents were negative. They were yelling at officials. They were always griping. They were griping about something, griping about me, griping about other coaches, griping. It was always somebody else's fault if we weren't winning. So we had to teach parents. We actually taught them how to cheer and how they should act at games, not just football, but basketball and baseball and everything else. So yeah, that's important. Your community getting behind you. You look at the teams that are winning. Majority of them have thousands of followers, people who may have never even been to, didn't go to school there or anything else, that start following them is going to make it a lot easier on you.
Hey, Carl, go ahead, Bob.
No, I just want to ask you one quick question. I don't know of anybody in the history of Texas high school football. I'm sure there may be somebody in the stratosphere, but I don't think there is, who took a program like you did at Alito and built it into really America's team almost. I mean, you had your own show and all that stuff. What do you think was the when you went in and you started changing all that, what do you think was the key to that? Was it the staff you hired? When you're hiring staff, are you looking for like-minded guys? Are you looking for their football savvy, whatever, tough guy? I don't know. It's always amazed me, and to have the longevity of success that you guys had there, it rests squarely on your shoulders. And I just want to know what when you went into that, what was your attitude? Not even knowing about the fans yet.
Well, the biggest thing was they'd had 6 coaches in 5 years. The seniors I was the seniors, literally their 5th coach since they were freshmen. When they were freshmen, they had a guy come in and stay 2 days and then he left.
Oh my God.
So I was literally the 5th coach for them. So the biggest thing is I had to convince them that they could trust me and count on me, and that I was going to be there, after 7 months, which they hadn't seen a coach stay longer than 7 months. So they had not had an off season, a true off season, I believe, since 1987, and I got there in '93 because the coaches had already checked out one way or another. it was to build trust first, and then like what you said, hiring a good staff, that is important. It seemed like nearly every year, of course, when what it is, you start winning and your coaches go off and get assistant coaches get coordinators jobs, and the coordinators get head coaching jobs. Going into the 98 season, we didn't have a coach on the staff except for me that had been there longer than 1 year.
Wow.
And I'd lost both their coordinators going into the 98 season. So it's a combination of all those things. And getting the kids to believe in me and the parents to believe that I was going to be there was probably the biggest thing we had to do.
Hey, Carl, you may talk to more coaches than anybody. You may go to more games than it. So you have some interesting observation eyes and conversations as well. Listening to what Coach Ship and Coach Buck have said, kind of what do you see in great teams from your vantage point, or from talking to coaches and what they say about their teams?
Well, there's a lot of things. I believe that a lot of your unknowns, not your top line guys, but they start. They got to step up and they got to play incredible during the playoffs. Sometimes it's lack of respect from your opponent. Other times, I've seen so many teams, especially 10-0s, because it happens so much in my district. But you get a 10-0 team, and it's like, wow, man, we accomplished winning district, and they're done. And so they don't win. But I love player-led teams. When the coach gets on them, coaches leave, the players, hey, he's right. We got to do what's said. The best teams, in my opinion, are not only do the players lead on the field, they lead off the field. If you have other players leading off the field and they don't start, you're probably going to have a lot of problems. And then Buck talked about coaching, and I'll tell you a quick story about Buck. So several years ago, they're playing a team from their district in the quarters. And this shows you how you can never know enough and you can always want to learn. So Buck has an assistant on his staff that has a dad that played against the slot tee or the wing tee for years. Can't remember which one it was. And so they called him, and he got on a Zoom with him for a couple hours, maybe even more than one day, and coached him up on how to stop the offense. And sure enough, they won the second game against Burleson Centennial that year because they obviously were in their district. So stuff like that, you usually don't think, wow, man, a guy like Buck or Scott Surratt or somebody, they know everything. They don't need anybody to coach them up. Well, in this case, he did that, and they won, and they wound up winning state.
That's Brad McCone and his dad, Pawpaw.
That's awesome.
All right, Carl, I'm going to bring up your Padilla Poll rankings here. I thought we could take a look at those again. And we're going to start here with four. I'm going to combine them this time, 4A, Division I and Division II. Not too much change there, Carl, but any surprises, anything like that stick out to any of y'all?
Carl, what you got for us this week? Athens, all their points ranked 9. I see that. Bay City 10. Bay City was down for many years, by the way. It's actually good to see them is starting to have a cycle back up. But what stuck out to you recently, Carl?
I tell you what, that Lavernia Bay City game last week was a war. 25-22. They played 3 times in 2 years. They may play again in the 3rd or 4th round. All these teams are excellent. I mean, if you look at how many do you really think can win state, maybe the top 5 in Division I. And I think we all know what we think in Division II, but let's be kind and go top 4 could all win state. But the elephant in the room is Carthage. So,
yeah, and I was going to say Frisco Panther Creek for the recruiting fans out there. Number 4, that's the school of Jalen Lott and Donovan Webb. Jalen Lott obviously committed to Oregon. Texas still recruiting him. His father, James Lott, was unbelievable athlete at the University of Texas. Jalen's mom played basketball for Jody Conrad at the University of Texas. So Jalen Lott, Donovan Webb, who I absolutely think is a dynamite safety, underrated nationally. He's committed to tag. I think that guy's going to go on to be a tremendous football player. That Panther Creek is interesting because they have two of the better football players and prospects in this state, guys that can almost at times single-handedly through offense, defense, or special teams take over a game. The question with them will be, do they have the size or the line depth that they're going to need moving deep into the playoffs? But they got two of the more dynamic high school players in the state right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting that West Plains and Stephenville could play again in the quarterfinals, and so could Salina and Panther Creek. So, and then the winners have to play each other. So,
my middle son is salivating for a Salina-Stephenville game. He's just crossing his fingers, hoping that one happens. That's all he's been talking about lately. We're going to look at 5A, guys, and I'll just do the top 5 in each one. 5A Division I, Frisco Lone Star, Aledo, Angleton, Port Arthur Memorial, and Denton Ryan. And then in Division II, in the Padilla Poll, Richmond Randall, South Oak Cliff, Iowa Colony, Prosper Walnut Grove, and P&G in the top 5 there.
Interesting stuff. I'd say anybody in the top 7 could win 5A Division II. We'll see. I know South Oak Cliff, they've been there 4 years in a row, lost the last 2. I know they got a burning vision to get back on top of the throne. Lone Star's been to the finals once. Everybody knows Aledo's got 12. So who wins that game gets to play who. And there's a bunch of teams waiting for them in Region 3 and Region 4 that might give them a whole lot of problems. And don't forget about our old ball coach now, Randy Allen at Highland Park. Never count him out.
I was going to ask you guys, and I personally don't know him. So I was going to ask you guys, Carl, I know you probably do, coach, one of the coaches you guys may too, but one of the guys that's a really, really good football coach in this state over an extended period of time that's not talked about is Larry Hill at Smithson Valley. Anybody know him? Carl, your thoughts on Larry Hill? Because, again, he's not a guy that gets a lot – he's talked about a lot, but, man, he's had a tremendous successful run as a head coach in Texas.
One of the great things about Larry Hill is he's a family man, and not just with his family but with his players. They started a South Texas Coaches Association south of San Antonio. And he used to coach at Jourdanton back in the 90s for a couple of years. One of his players was Daryl Andrus, who's now the head coach at Jourdanton. And anytime Daryl asked him to speak at a clinic, Larry's there. And an impressive thing about Larry, kind of like with Buck, they started that organization. And so they had 4 clinics that year. Larry was the 4th one. Larry showed up for the other 3 just to learn, just to see what was going on. And that's the kind of support and loyalty that just makes them very good. And his attention to detail and coaching his coaches and obviously his players. He's the guy that I know that if he sees that he can run this play and you can't stop it, he'll never run a second one. And so, he's not going to outcoach himself.
320-plus games or 330 at this point, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, he's just one of those guys that, hey, I can keep it as simple as possible and beat 95% of the people I ever play. Why not?
I'm going to tell you, he's an unbelievable person, number one. And you may not read about him as much and stuff like that, but, he's well respected. He's president of our Coaches Association, highly, highly respected in the Texas High School Football Coach or Texas High School Coaches Association, and as a football coach. The thing that impressed me about him, in 23, they make it to the state championship game. Don't quite have as good a team as what their opponent was, and end up getting beat pretty bad. and all it did is make them go back and go to work and come back the next year and then win it the next year. So he that right there tells you a lot about a guy like Larry.
Yeah, he's one of the classiest guys that I know, and yeah, his work ethic and his attention to detail. This is not a derogatory term, but he's very anal. I mean, there's his way. He knows what he wants to do, and he does it, and he does it, and then the next year he does it again. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't grow with the times, but I'm just saying his attention to detail is really, really amazing. And like I said, anybody that like Coach Hill or Coach Buck that stays somewhere that long and has that many wins and that much success, those are the studs. Those are the studs.
And then we'll look at 6A fellas to wrap it up. South Lake still number 1, and then Fort Bend Ridge Point 2, Allen 3, Duncanville 4, and Westlake 5.
Got a big matchup. This week.
No doubt. 3 versus 6.
Allen and Prosper. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you're forgetting about another one.
What else we got?
I believe Westlake's playing Lake Travis this week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So, and Lake Travis just got through barely squeaking by Dripping Springs last week. That was quite the struggle, 14-7.
Wow.
So, yep, Lake Travis going to Westlake, which is good because, Lake Travis's field's not playable. So it's good they don't have to go to Dripping Springs again this week.
You want to know when you play in a really, really tough district? Obviously, the District of Doom in Dallas is one thing. Atascocita is 2-2 in district this year. I mean, North Shore 4-0, King 4-0, Summer Creek 3-1. Atascocita is 2-2 in district and 4-3. Really talented group of kids over there too. I mean, that district with King's continued rise. Kenny Harrison does a great job over at Summer Creek. Obviously played fullback at Texas for John Makovic. But North Shore, King, Summer Creek, Atascocita. I mean, what a district that is. Because here's the other thing that goes with that, Carl. Kingwood's a pretty good football team this year.
Yeah.
And they're probably not going to even get in the playoffs.
And they made the playoffs last year. I mean, King didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So one of the things for human rankings is almost all of them have Katy ranked above Atascocita. And Atascocita beat Katy earlier this year.
Yeah.
Well, as good as Katy is, they haven't played the schedule that Atascocita has. So, hey, everybody can rank however they want, but it's very hard to get Katy ranked above Atascocita, considering who Atascocita is playing. And they probably will lose again this season to North Shore when they play. So,
yep. That's an unbelievably difficult district this year. Because C.E. King they may have the fastest player in America, right? The kid that ran 9.9 something as a freshman in high school. But a lot of team speed at C.E. King. Really tough district.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up with what games you guys are paying attention to this week. And Carl, I'm going to start with you.
I could see a special one. I'm going to Kerrville, and it's supposed to be raining, but hopefully not. And Brackett, I actually set this game up back in July, but Bracketville is playing Gordon. So Gordon gets to play their second 11-man game this year. If you are feeling sorry for Gordon because they don't have 20 players, they beat Thorndale 4 weeks ago, 54-21. And the ratings say that Thorndale could beat Bracketville. So I hope it's not too bad, but we'll see what happens. And it'll be great to see a couple of players who I guess are already committed to D1 schools.
Coach Buck?
Well, the Bearcats are going up to Richland Hills to take on Richland. The Richland Royals, I almost said Rebels. Richland Royals, and Richland's got a heck of a running back. Really, really good offensive line. Took Denton Ryan to the wire. Actually, with less than 2 minutes left in the game, about a minute and a half. Richland was on Ryan's 10-yard line and attempted a field goal, and Ryan blocked it. And then Ryan ended up scoring another touchdown late in the game when Richland was just trying to get the ball back. But they're good enough on offense to beat Aledo. And so it should be a closer game than what I think people are predicting.
Bob, what about you?
Well, there's several. The actual game that I'm gonna be at is I'll be down in Burnett watching the Bulldogs take on the Brownwood Lions.
Nice.
That I coached and had a little success with. That's where I'll be. Neither team is off to a great start this season, but there's really one out in the Panhandle that's going to be interesting. Canyon Randall, who is 6-1, 2-0 in district, is playing Canyon Plains, who's 6-1 and 2-0 in district. That'll be a nice game. Down in your part of the world, Carl, Rio Hondo and Raymondville.
Both undefeated.
Yep, both undefeated.
Jerry?
Well, I think Carl knew where I was going with mine. Atascocita's playing North Shore. And it's and there's a reason I brought that district up because, it's been interesting there. Atascocita and North Shore have that's been for the district championship, right? And Summer Creek involved in that as well. They've had some really good battles. There's been some lopsided battles in that. Carl was talking about Atascocita's schedule to this point. I mean, look, their losses are Westlake, C.E. King, and Summer Creek, right? I mean, they beat Kingwood by 61-34. So, I mean, and they beat Katy 52-33 to his point. So Atascocita is a pretty good football team. This has become a rivalry game in that district because they've both been they've both made really deep runs, and it's been a lot of times for the district championship game. And you kind of wonder at some point, while Atascocita is not going to win district, are they going to get over that hump in this game? And North Shore's had such a handle on that district for so long. And it's created such a great rivalry. But those guys do play once again on Friday. And North Shore's only lost this year, by the way, is to South Oak Cliff. And they have beat Kingwood 71-7, everybody else. So that's going to be a huge game down in my area, in the Houston area, because it's become one of the better rivalry games in 6A football.
And by the way, Jerry, I just finished the 5A predictions for playoffs, and I have Friendswood finishing 4th.
You're right. I think they got Porter Friday. That's going to be the game for 4th place in the district. And I do think they started district with the gauntlet, LaPorte, Crosby, and Angleton. And they're the only team that played Angleton within 40 this year. And I told the quarterback that last night. He wasn't even aware. Really good basketball player, too. I was like, you realize I ran into you're the only team that's played Angleton within 40. He's like, really? He said, I got the hell beat out of me in that game. I said, well, you got the hell beat out of you a little less than everybody else. So there's that.
So one interesting thing is we may have a district that started with 7 teams this year. And when the playoffs start, the only 4 left will all be in the playoffs. So if Axtell gets ruled ineligible, then Rio Vista is already ineligible, and Itasca shut down their season. So they'll go from 7 teams to 4 teams, and everybody makes the playoffs.
Wow.
Hey, how about one more? Cedar Hill and DeSoto. Pretty interesting game. Cedar Hill's 2-1, but they're 4-1 in district, and DeSoto 4-3 schedule. They're 3-1 in district. So that's going to be a game to watch as well.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Fieldhouse. Of course, we thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back next Friday. So for Jerry Hamilton, Bob Shipley, Carl Padilla, and Coach Buck, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.